Hades is actually one of my favorite gods. Most people, when they hear Hades, they think of the underworld and death. However, he's much more than that. Basically, Hades represents the energy of transformation, of understanding life's mystery on a deeper level. Basically, everything that goes deep and has to do with understanding and transformation goes into the realm of Hades. Hello and welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jada. In this series, we're diving into the different archetypes of Greek mythology as a way to understand the different parts of ourselves better and discover who we really are. In case you haven't watched the introduction video, I'm gonna link it up above and down below. It will give you a better insight on what this series is about. And I'm going to link the playlist of this series in the description box as well, so you can watch the other videos too. Now, despite on how Hades often get portrayed, especially in movies, Hades never really had an issue of being the ruler of the underworld. He actually quite liked it. He was not really interested in the drama of the above world or of the skies where Zeus ruled. He was actually quite content in being in his realm and overwatching the cycle of rebirth and death. Unlike Zeus or Poseidon, Hades wasn't very prone to anger. He was actually a very calm, fair and steadfast ruler. He had his rules and he was very diligent on those rules. So the only way on really how you could anger Hades, what about breaking those rules? One of those rules was that neither mortals or gods were allowed to enter the realm of Hades. So this was his realm and nobody was to enter there unless they were meant to stay there. Of course, there were a lot of scenarios where that rule got broken. However, it usually was against Hades' will. It either happened behind his back or with the help of someone else. The only one that could really freely enter Hades' realm was Hermes, and he was the messenger of God. So he was, due to his role, he was the only one allowed in and out as he pleased. So Hades also represents the hidden aspects of ourselves. Some call it the shadow self, others call it the wounded self. It's basically those parts that we refuse to look at, that usually require some sort of transformation to kind of arise from it like a phoenix from the ashes. This is true for the physical world as it is for our inner world, maybe even more so from our inner world. One phrase is that a friend once told me that has stayed with me ever since is, sometimes something old must die so something new can be reborn. This is basically the energy of Hades. It's about looking at those aspects of ourselves that we are repressing, ignoring, and bringing those to light and then transform them. Hades also represents the part of us that we want to keep hidden, not just from ourselves, but sometimes even from outside people, like a guilty pleasure that we indulge with that we just don't want other people to know. We might even be okay with that part of ourselves, but it's a part of ourselves that we don't want the outside world to know. And that is totally okay. It's totally okay to have that part of yourself that you just want for yourself. You don't want anyone to know about that, especially if that part of yourself is not destructive or hindering you in any kind of way. It's just those things that you just don't feel like sharing. The beauty to really tap into the Hades archetype and allowing us to go through that transformation basically is letting go of anything that is painful or is holding us back and emerging from it stronger and wiser. So basically every time we go through a process, Hades is part of that, and he's the part that helps us transform that painful aspect, whatever it is. It could be a loss or it could be a decision that we need to make. It's just something that changes inside of us. With a balanced Hades, you have the ability to tap into those transformational experiences, to allow things to basically die, inner parts of yourself to. So he really allows us to face our own depths and to grow from them. However, we should still not forget that Hades is the god of the underworld, therefore it is the dark realm. So an overemphasized Hades can lead to isolation and becoming overly observed in any dark thought. This is one of the reasons on why it's usually recommended that Hades is not actively encouraged into our life. The reason for that is that Hades is part of our everyday life anyways, like death and rebirth and constant transformation in and outside of us is happening anyways all the time. So it's not about enhancing that energy, but usually more accepting or surrendering to that energy. On the other hand, a suppressed Hades usually leads to avoidance, avoiding the things that we need to look at, the problems that we have accumulated, avoiding self-reflection, which ultimately leads to stagnation and unresolved issues, so the traumas that we haven't worked through. So again, it's not so much about inviting more of Hades into our life, but rather to accept his energy and work with it, because he's ever present if you want it or not. So another way to look at it, instead of coming from the perspective of weakening or strengthening Hades, is how does Hades show up in my life and how do I interact with him? Am I avoiding him, or am I maybe engaging a little bit too much? Or could it be that I actually have a healthy relationship to him? Like when things come up, I work through them. I see when things are at the end stage, when they need to be let go. And again, this can be also a relationship. It can be a work, like a job that you have, and it's like, okay, it's time for a transformation. I need to readjust. Those are all energies of Hades that we basically encounter in everyday life. Another way you can look at Hades is how much are you involved in self-development, because self-development basically is aimed at transforming the inner world, at working at traumas, issues, and all that stuff. And this actually goes into the realm of Hades, especially, or more specifically, that part that require to go through an emotional transformation. So that part of the self-development journey basically belongs to Hades. So let me know how you feel about Hades. Did you get a new perspective? Was it a god that you were kind of intimidated by, but have now the possibility to get in touch in a more friendly way with him? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to know. Otherwise, this is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.